Well, I was thinking today we should touch on birthdays, milestone dates, anniversaries, things like that, particularly because I know today is Veronica's birthday.
It is. She would have been 63 years old today.
Yeah. And how old was she when she died?
She was 53.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
Okay.
actually, that's weird that I had to actually think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that piece of how birthdays, anniversaries, milestone dates like bring things into the forefront, right? You've learned over these years how to integrate the grief and carry it differently. And so, yet dates like this can maybe bring that back up or kind of highlight it again. So, I'm just
Yeah.
curious how it's been for you today.
Yeah, I think the thing that I kind of think about the most, I don't know that it's the most important thing, but the thing I think about the most is the unfairness of it.
Yeah.
The fact that she died so young, she died at a time in her life when things were really just starting to go well for her, and through no fault of her own.
Hmm.
And she doesn't get to experience all of the things that I'm experiencing. She's not watching our kids grow up. I go on vacation, I go on a trip somewhere. She doesn't get to participate in that. And I still remember one of the times I was taking her to the hospital when she was sick and things were not looking good. And she said, I'm not greedy. I don't want to live forever. She said, but I think I would be okay with another 10 or 20 years.
And that's exactly what I talk about, like throughout the book, about the differences or the degree of intensity of some of our experiences when we have an early or out of order death loss. Out of order meaning child loss,
Right.
right? Or dying before kind of our elders. And then early is exactly what you're talking about. It doesn't have to be significantly early, even just kind of before your time
Right.
or the
Yeah.
older adult years. Because of that right there, it brings different pieces into greater intensity
Right.
because she just wanted some more experiences. She
Yeah.
wanted a little more life.
Yeah, my dad, I just saw my dad and he's 86 and he's starting to have some health problems. He's still
Mhm.
okay. But like if I were to get a call saying, okay, we found this thing and he's got 6 months to live, of course I would be sad, but there's sort of a normalcy to that. There's an
Mhm.
expectation that, okay, he's lived a long, very full life and now that's over. You still grieve, it's still sad, but you're right. It's a different dynamic.
Mhm. And then I think bringing it back to like Veronica's birthday, I know that you all have shared with me that birthdays were pretty special and held, you all tended to them and
Right.
kind of celebrated them in a nice way. And I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
how does that look now?
It's strange because first of all, Veronica always subscribed to the idea that she didn't have a birthday. She had a birthday month, so all of April was her birthday, and but on the day we both really tried to not work on either one of our birthdays, so that we could spend the day together. We would go to the antique store or the thrift store, and have lunch together. It was great because the kids were usually in school unless it was on a weekend. So it was just the two of us. We didn't have to worry about babysitting. And it's, I feel like I should honor the day in some way today. And the first, up until this year, or well, actually, with the exception of when my daughter was in college, because she would be away at school when this date came, I would spend time with the kids. That was a big deal. That was part of how we processed it. So the meaning of it has morphed from being this celebratory, fun day to sort of a
Mhm.
memorial day, a day of remembrance and
Yeah.
tending to our emotions. And I kind of resent that. Like I kind of resent the fact that oh well, now it used to be this happy thing and now it's this complicated melancholy thing. And I understand that that might change over time. That there may be a time when I do feel more celebratory about it, but right now that's just not how it feels. The whole thing is confusing.
Hmm. Well, and I think with like early, particularly out of order death losses, I talk with a lot of clients about like the complication of birthdays is what would they be into now? What kind of if we're talking about a kid, what kind of themed birthday party would they want?
Right.
What are the interests or desires of that, person at this point? And so I think there is that, like, we want to celebrate their life, and yet there's this like absence and just the guessing
Yeah.
about what we would be celebrating, with them if they were here. So the absence is really felt. It's highlighted even more on days like this.
It is, and I think about, Veronica had just started to turn gray, and she had really long, dark hair, and she had always looked forward to going gray. She's like, I am never going to dye my hair, and she had this like gray stripe like right up here, and it was just starting to come in, and she loved it. And I'm like, well, how gray would she be now?
Yeah,
Like, would that just be
exactly.
a stripe, or would the whole thing be going, like, what would that look like?
Hmm.
And little things like that used to get her really excited.
Hmm.
And she doesn't get to experience that. And
Yeah.
there's another element of this, that has to, I don't know what the right word is. It's a combination of confusion and guilt, and I recognize I didn't create this situation. I'm responding to it as best that I can, but I'm not always sure how I'm supposed to feel. Like, or actually, I know I'm not supposed to feel anyway. I'm just supposed to feel what I feel, but I don't always know what I feel. Like, in
Hmm.
some ways, these are the kind of moments that bring me back to those very early days of grief, where there's a whole lot of competing emotions all at once.
Yeah.
The difference now, though, is that I feel like I've learned a lot, and I feel like I should have a better understanding of what I'm feeling and what to do with it. Now, the first half, I do have an intellectual understanding of it. I've accepted the fact that it's complicated. It's probably always going to be complicated. But I don't know what to do with these feelings. Like, I've been kind of on that edge all day, like, of anxiety. Like, should I do something? Should I not do something? Like, I really don't know. And it's also complicated by the fact that I'm in another long-term committed relationship that's very healthy and going really well, and I feel very supported in that relationship. But I
And
always,
any
well,
real quick, is any good therapist would try to interrupt you and be like, careful about the shitting on yourself,
right,
like, and I totally get that pull and that um uncertainty about how to spend or what to do, or right.
yeah,
I'm thinking of a video we recently did, a short about the simplicity in grief and trying to just be where you are.
yeah.
But I get that it's confusing, especially on a day like today.
Yeah, and I think that if I take any lesson away from this, it's just to accept that. To
Yeah.
accept that at some point in however many hours, like today is going to be over. And if I make it
Mhm.
to the end of the day, which I have every intention of doing, the day will be gone and I will have done whatever I did and I will have felt whatever I felt. And I will have shown up for it as best that I can. And then tomorrow I'll get up and start over. And then in 364 more days, her birthday will be here again. And before that, our anniversary will be here again. And the kids' birthdays will be here before then. And I'll, it's all messy. And as much as I say I understand that it's messy, and I still sometimes the messy part feels uncomfortable. And that's probably the element that I both struggle with the most and spend the most time working on, is just reminding myself, oh, it is messy, and that's
Mhm.
okay. The fact that it feels messy and complicated doesn't indicate that I'm doing anything wrong or that there is anything wrong.
And that's, I think, the simplicity in it. Today's an uncomfortable day. And so if there's any guidance about what to do in your day, it's, is there anything that will make it slightly more comfortable? Not comfortable, but just slightly less uncomfortable,
Yeah,
maybe, right? It's an uncomfortable day. And discomfort doesn't always mean we need to like run from it or change it,
right.
right? It just is.
Yeah, and I think that one of the best things that grief has done for me, and I have a hard time saying that sentence,
I know.
but one of the best things that grief has done for me has shown me how much of my life I've spent avoiding and running from uncomfortable feelings.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful for the fact that I have this support in this context to learn that lesson in a really kind of safe way. To go, okay, yeah, it feels this way, but I'm not being shot at or bombed. My house isn't on fire. Nobody's in the emergency room. It's a feeling, and I'm feeling it, and it matters. And I think that I want to pay a certain amount of respect to Veronica by showing up for this the best that I can. I wished her a happy birthday when I got up, and that's really all I can do at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.